Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're venturing into a really fascinating ancient text.
We are indeed the divine Pymander of Hermes Trismegistus.
Specifically a translation from Arabic, right?
Yeah.
We're aiming to give you, our listener, a kind of shortcut to understanding this key work.
Exactly. Think of it as a foundational piece of Western esoteric thought. It's influenced so much alchemy, philosophy, lots of spiritual traditions for centuries.
So our mission today, get the essentials on Hermes himself, the core messages of the Pymander, and why it still kind of matters.
Let's do it, starting with the man himself, or the myth, Hermes Trismegistus.
Yeah, who was he? The sources, they almost make him sound mythical. Connections back to the Egyptian god Thoth.
Right, as early as the 4th century BC. He gets credit for, well, inventing pretty much everything. Arts, sciences, hieroglyphics.
The foundations of knowledge, basically.
And what's interesting there is the layers. The Egyptians had different types of hieroglyphs.
Oh, right. Like some were more secret.
Exactly. The deepest meanings were supposedly only understood by the top priests. Suggests a kind of esoteric system from the get-go.
That theme definitely runs through Hermetic stuff, doesn't it?
It does. And Hermes wasn't just an inventor in these stories. He was the go-between.
Between nature and us, like a living encyclopedia.
You got it. The keeper of knowledge about natural phenomena, showing how reason could unlock it all.
Yeah.
A real powerhouse.
No kidding. Okay, so Trismegistus, thrice greatest, that came later.
A bit later, yeah. Around the 2nd century AD, something it might have been, partly a response to Christianity gaining ground.
An alternative path, maybe?
Could be. And it's amazing, really, that even though so much is lost, we still have these writings in Greek, Latin, Arabic. Shows how far it spread.
So the Divine Pymander, that's the main event, the core text.
Generally considered the most undisputed part, yes. But other things were attributed to.
Like the definitions of Asclepius. And didn't someone called Patricius collect some works?
That's right. And if you dig even deeper, you find the historian Diodorus Siculus.
What did he say?
He described Hermes as a confidant of Osiris, said Hermes refined language, invented letters, set up religious rites, taught philosophy, astronomy, music.
Wow. So like the architect of Egyptian civilization, in his view.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And the legends about his lifespan are just wild. People trying to link him to Adam, Enoch, Moses.
Trying to give him this almost divine status, right? There's definitely an aura, magic powers, all that.
For sure. But stepping back, the most probable view, according to our sources anyway, is maybe a genius inventor before Moses.
Okay, so inventing useful arts, early science.
Yeah, using hieroglyphs on stone, on obelisks, to teach people, establish worship. Those symbols probably created a sense of awe, too, about spiritual things.
Makes sense. And then there's this idea of a second Hermes.
Right. According to Manetho, the second Hermes translated the first Hermes teachings from stone tablets that were buried.
Translated them into books for the temples, like keeping the knowledge alive.
Exactly. This second Hermes, son of Agathodemon, apparently, is credited with reviving lost wisdom. Geometry, arithmetic, the arts.
Like a knowledge relay race across millennia.
That's a good way to put it. He was the crucial link. And the scope of these teachings, huge.
What did they cover?
Oh, everything. Celestial beings, elements, astrology, medicine, anatomy, and this deep, mystical take on the world's origins, human nature. Clemens of Alexandria noted that.
It wasn't just Egypt either, right? Weren't there links to Dods and other places? Germans, Celts?
Yeah, a few takes. It hints at maybe a shared background, or at least similar ideas popping up.
Fascinating. Now, the Hermetic art, that's alchemy, isn't it? Or early chemistry.
It became an early name for chemistry, yeah, based on the idea that Hermes invented it or was just brilliant at it.
Though the sources say it's a bit uncertain if he actually was involved.
Exactly. It just shows the sheer breadth of stuff attributed to him. The timeline itself is murky.
How murky?
Some placed him 1,000 years before Asclepius, basically prehistoric.
Wow.
And you had figures like Zosimus of Panopolis mentioning his writings on nature, but also doubting if all the works under his name were genuine.
So debates even back then.
Oh, yeah. Then others, like Martium and Eusebius, attributed lots of theological, astronomical, medical books to a second Mercury, son of Vulcan, living after Moses, who Manetho also called Trismegistus.
Okay, so it gets complicated with possibly multiple figures sharing the name or title.
Very. It's a tangled web of attribution across different times.
But the Egyptians' reverence for some kind of Hermetic books seems clear. They paraded them.
Big time. In solemn processions, you had the chanter with hymns and rules for kings,
Then the horoscopus.
carrying the astronomy books, stars, eclipses, sun, moon, planets, geography, even sacred geography.
In medicine, too, 6 books.
Yep. Anatomy, medicines, eye diseases, women's health, domestic stuff. It's a tragedy. Those seem lost.
Definitely. Especially if, as you said, Sanchoniathon used them for his History of the Gods. Shows their influence.
Huge influence. But maybe the most lasting link is alchemy.
Right, the father of alchemy.
Consistently.
Yeah.
Shows up in countless alchemical manuscripts.
And that leads to the story of Alexander the Great. Right, finding Hermes' tomb.
Near Hebron, supposedly. And inside this emerald slab.
Taken by Sarah, Abraham's wife. That's quite a detail.
It is. And inscribed on it, in Phoenician, were the instructions for making gold. The legendary Smaragdine table.
Just 13 sentences, right? But super cryptic.
Very. Our source lists them.
Yeah.
Key bits like, what is below is like that which is above.
The microcosm reflects the macrocosm idea, like a hologram.
Exactly. And the idea that everything comes from one single origin. Sun is the father, moon the mother.
Active and receptive principles.
Wind carries it, earth nurses it. It talks about perfecting things, its power when transformed, how the world was formed.
And that's why he's called Trismegistus.
Because he holds 3 parts of this world philosophy, yeah. Ending with the operation of the sun.
It's powerful imagery, even if, people have argued about what it means for centuries.
Absolutely. And it's amazing that despite questions about whether the table or the other books are really from, say, 2000 BC,
People kept trying to prove they were real and held these incredible secrets.
the dedication is something else. Alchemists mostly thought he was a priest living just after Moses.
And Clemens Alexandrinus, he thought Hermes wrote 42 books.
Yeah, full of symbols, like a circle with a snake around it. Even the Rosetta Stone calls Hermes great and great.
Or twice great, so maybe the thrice great really comes from the Emerald Table itself.
Seems likely, yeah. Linked to mastering those 3 parts of universal wisdom.
You really can't talk alchemy without talking Hermes, can you?
Not really. He's quoted constantly, the ultimate authority. Alchemists call themselves Hermetic philosophers.
And the Hermetic art. Hermetics, even sealing hermetically.
Making something airtight, yeah. Comes from Hermes, his seal. Like sealing away secret knowledge. It's a linguistic echo.
Wow. The source also mentions someone comparing Hermes to Bude in India.
Colonel Franklin, yeah. Noting the scholar Maurice did that, hints at possible cross-cultural links or maybe a shared ancient source.
And the Tau cross, the crux Hermes.
Another symbol tied to him. Ancient sign, linked to salvation in Ezekiel, shows up as an emblem for Tyrannus, Soth, Teutates.
Hermes himself, Buddha among the Druids. It's everywhere.
Yeah, pops up in old alphabets, too. Shows how deep those symbolic roots go. Maybe shared spiritual ideas.
It really makes you think, then, about modern skepticism towards, say, turning lead into gold.
Right. When we see scientific marvels daily, that would seem like magic back then. Every era has its own definition of impossible, I guess.
True. The source mentions scholars who defended Hermes, though. Hubaldus, Baricius.
Yeah, Baricius especially. A polymath, apparently quite poetic, which maybe influenced his belief in Hermes and the Smaragdine table.
Interesting how temperament plays a role in interpreting these things.
Definitely. And then Hargrave Jennings, writing the preface for this work, suggests the core ideas are there symbolically.
In hieroglyphs, metaphysics, math, like Guillaume Postel also said, not just literal instructions, maybe.
Exactly, operating on multiple levels. Which brings us to the teachings inside the Divine Pymander.
Okay, let's get into it. What are some core ideas?
Well, first off, this deep link between piety, religion, and philosophy. They aren't separate things here.
How so?
The text argues that really understanding the natural world, how it works, it naturally leads to gratitude, to reverence for the creator, the workman.
So inquiry leads to devotion. That makes sense. Not opposing forces.
Right, they support each other.
Yeah.
And then there's the soul's journey, upwards.
Ah, yes. Souls striving for truth and goodness. They don't fall back.
They stay drawn to the divine forever. Like climbing a spiritual ladder through self-improvement to reunite with the source. It's a powerful image.
But not an easy climb, the text suggests.
It's definitely not. It involves an inner battle, a war against the self, overcoming the body's desires that want to keep its soul trapped.
While the good part wants freedom, like many spiritual paths emphasize.
Exactly. Self-mastery is key. It even hints that real victory might mean detaching from the body before the end.
Transcendence. Moving beyond the physical limits.
Right. It also gets into physics almost. Movement and change. Everything is moved by something else.
Except the unmoved mover, the divine.
Presumably. And while everything physical changes, not everything dissolves completely. A difference between the temporary and the eternal.
It lays out divine attributes, too, doesn't it? Gods choose good, time is divine.
Law is human, yeah. And this weird idea that malice nourishes the world, but time corrupts us.
And heaven is unchangeable, earth is changeable and not free. A hierarchy.
Very ordered. And different kinds of knowledge and judgment in each realm. Earthly understanding doesn't map directly onto the heavens.
Mortal versus immortal. A clear divide.
Absolutely. It hammers that home. Explores sowing versus begetting, different time frames for dissolvable things versus everlasting ones.
Dissolvable things change into opposites. Eternal stuff changes within itself.
Right, and that stark line. Human generation is corruption, and corruption leads to generation.
That's a mind bender. Very different thinking. It also talks about existence as bodies or ideas.
Yeah, with action belonging to bodies. Again, mortal and immortal don't mix.
And a warning, don't share this with just anyone.
Right, the uninitiated masses won't get it. That idea, secret knowledge for the prepared, comes up a lot in these traditions.
Keeps things exclusive, maybe.
Perhaps. It also touches on human nature's tendency towards malice.
Yeah.
And warns that just blaming fate or destiny might actually make it worse.
Shifting gears, God, mind, word, the logos idea.
Exactly. The word is the Son of God. Mind and God aren't separate. Their union is life, a deeply connected divine reality.
And the creation story. No divine mind, order and chaos.
Right. Light emerges, elements separate, cosmos and humanity form. And interestingly, early humans are described as androgynous.
Whole before being split into male and female, like Plato's myth.
Similar idea, wholeness came first.
Yeah.
Suggests a primordial unity before differentiation, a common theme in myths.
Then mind descends, creates 7 governors. And humans have this dual nature.
Mortal body, immortal essential self.
Yeah.
But still subject to fate. Serving cosmic harmony, governed by this father, who's both male and female.
Primal parent figure.
Kind of. Then nature mixes with humans, creating beings linked to those 7 governors, 7 types of humans.
Formed from life and light into soul and mind.
But eventually, that initial unity breaks down, the androgynous being separate.
And being too attached to the body leads to darkness. Knowing yourself leads to good.
That's the gist. Self-knowledge is liberation. It asks why the ignorant sin and lose immortality understanding seems key.
Mind is a gatekeeper, keeping evil out if you understand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But distant from the foolish who get tormented by a revenging demon.
What about after death? The body dissolves.
Form becomes invisible. Bad habits go to the demon, senses return to their sources, anger and lust go back to brute nature.
And the rest descends. Through the spheres.
Shedding powers at each level of harmony, yeah. Until it reaches the 8th nature, beyond the planets.
And sings praises. Sounds like a journey of purification.
It is. But there's hope too. Salvation through God's intervention. Grace.
Hermes sees his job as teaching this piety and knowledge, inspired by Pymander, the divine mind.
That's his mission. And he offers this beautiful praise to God, holy, created through the word, ultimately unknowable.
Calling for pure sacrifices from the soul, it revisits chaos and light too.
Yeah, suggesting cycles. Renewal through divine influence and nature's circular motion.
God, Father, good. They're all linked. Aspects of the same reality.
Seems so. It talks about change and permanence, God's will driving creation. The sun helps, but it's still under the will of the ultimate good.
And only humans can perceive this good, through mind.
That's our unique potential. Beholding of the good can even lead to this temporary out-of-body vision of beauty. Celius and Saturn supposedly experienced that.
So deification is possible while human, through contemplating the good.
That's the idea. But destinies differ after death. Good souls become like demons or join the stars. Evil ones revert to lower forms.
Ignorance is the big sin, the soul's wickedness, leading to enslavement by passions.
While knowledge is virtue, makes you good, religious, divine.
But God, the Father, the good, ultimately beyond words.
Ineffable, yeah. There's a difference between just sensing things and true knowledge, which is a gift from God, transcending the senses.
The material world is beautiful but flawed, changing,
Yeah.
sustained by intellectual stability.
Right. The world is the first living being, man the second, but the first mortal one.
And the human soul can go either way, good or evil. Everything traces back to the one.
That interconnectedness again. God, world, man, the core triad. Knowing God is crucial for our well-being, purifying the soul.
It mentions a child's soul being pure, before the body's passions taint it.
A state of innocence, yeah. contrasted with the sensual soul wandering after death, facing judgment.
Mind, soul, spirit are distinct,
Oh.
and striving for piety leads upwards, impiety downwards.
Exactly. Impiety is the worst torment. There's even a law against human souls going into animal bodies.
Nature works through elements, humans through arts and sciences, but all depend on the one mind.
And there's communion between gods and humans. The good mind is in every soul, separate from any judging force.
Mind has power, can leave an idle soul trapped in the body.
That's the implication. Man is divine being, like the gods in a way, called to pray for understanding.
Understanding lets us see the unseen, requires interchange.
Silencing the senses, vices. Yeah, the human body itself is proof of God's craftsmanship.
God is the sole creator, acting through will, always creating, manifest and hidden.
Both. No single body, yet in all bodies. The one Father, many names, no name.
And God is the good, eternally good, untouched by evil. But passion is in everything created.
So pure good isn't possible in generation in the created world. Only God is that.
We can't fully grasp it because the body traps us in negativity.
That's the idea. God's essence is the fair and beautiful, not fully seen here. Visible things are shadows.
The unseen realities, fair, good, are parts of God, always present.
And understanding them requires piety and knowledge. Ignorance gives a false idea of good. True understanding needs grace.
Regeneration, spiritual rebirth, isn't taught, but remembered, initiated by God.
Perhaps through the Son of God. The universe holds all these divine powers.
Mortal forms perish, true reality is unchanging, undisturbed, boundless, colorless.
Unfigured, naked, self-comprehensible, unalterable, unbodily. Realizing the material world is false after seeking wisdom is like a madness, a liberating one.
It mentions natural tendencies fire up, earth down, moisture and spirit as intermediaries.
Basic physics almost. But the focus is purging bodily torments. It lists 12.
Ignorance, sorrow, intemperance, concupiscence, the whole list. They leave when mercy comes.
Leading to regeneration. Then virtues arrive, 10 of them.
Temperance, continence, justice. They drive out the 12 vices.
Perfecting intellectual generation, yeah. It's a state of knowing you consist of divine things thanks to God's mercy. It even pairs them up how the 10 beat the 12.
And don't insult the universe. Blasphemy.
Right. It tackles body dissolution too. Nature's sensible body dissolves, but the essential generation doesn't. We're born gods, children of the One.
There's a hymn from the powers in the Ogdode, the 8th sphere, signifying purification.
A harmonious blessing of regeneration, often found in silence. A call to praise God, the source, the eye of the mind.
Humanity's cry to God through all of creation. Eternal praise in God's will.
Residing in the intelligible world, the mind. Offer reasonable sacrifices to the Father, Lord, mind. Speak the praises aloud.
Seeing truth bear fruit brings joy. Knowing God, avoiding evil that's paramount, requires sobriety, inner vision.
He warns about ignorance corrupting the soul, urges resistance against the great stream of worldly stuff. Seek salvation's haven.
Need a guide for that. God is ineffable, perceived by mind and heart.
Tear away the garment of ignorance first. It hides reality, fills us with hateful pleasure.
Then it talks about movement again. Everything is moved in something greater with a contrary nature.
The whole world moves in an incorporeal place, maybe divine, maybe God himself, an intelligible place beyond essence.
God is intelligible to us, but not in the same way to himself. Soul moves body, soul burdened by two bodies.
Maybe physical and subtle. Air fills empty space. The universe moves in mind and reason, a self-comprehending space.
Then the concept of good. Often spoken, rarely understood. People attribute it wrongly.
Only God is good by nature, giver of all, taker of nothing. Childlessness is even framed as a punishment.
Mind speaks to Hermes, tells him to recall teachings amid disagreements about the universe and good.
God and all, a key concept. Interconnectedness of God, eternity, world, time, generation. Celestial is unchanging, earthly changes.
Souls of eternity, God, world, eternity, earth, heaven. God and mind and soul, soul and matter, all through eternity.
The universal body filled with soul, mind, God. Earthly things can't compare to God.
God is always active. If idle, nothing exists. Soul moves everything in its own realm. We need to learn all things are made.
Single soul, life, matter from the one God. God creates easily life, soul, immortality, change.
Our senses and actions reflect divine power. Life is word plus mind. Fair and good are God's attributes.
God generates uniquely, without pleasure or help. Worker and work, hierarchical flow. God, mind, world, sun, man.
Change isn't death, just becoming invisible. The world changes within itself, never dissolves. needs a formless maker for the formed world.
God's one idea manifests all forms through bodies. The idea is incorruptible. God's goodness is his life in motion. Mind in humans is God, making some divine.
The good demon. Gods are immortal men, men mortal gods. Mind is the nature in animals.
Soul tied to mind and life. Mind helps human souls towards good, fights base nature, cooperates differently with animal nature.
Soul is vulnerable in the body, sorrow, grief, pleasure. Mind guides, resists assumptions, heals the soul. Atheism is the great disease.
Souls without mind suffer like animals, led by desire. Unreasonable anger, desire are great evils, all subject to fate, generation, change.
Rational men, guided by mind, suffer differently, escape viciousness even amidst evil.
The good demon teaches. God sees all, speaks divine words. Incorporeal things in the body are passible, they are passions.
Everything moving is incorporeal, moved into bodies by mind. Motion is passion, mover and moved suffer. Freedom from body, freedom from passion.
Action and passion are essentially the same. Power of speech. God commanded soul and body, mind and soul, word and mind in God. God is Father of all.
Word, image of mind of God, body of idea, idea of soul, chain of being. Subtle matter holds seeds of all forms. The one is many, changing, but identical. Number is inherent in compounds.
Unities make numbers. Dissolve into them. Matter is one. World, great God, image of the greater, full of life, nothing dead. God willed it living.
Dissolution is renewal, not destruction. Life's operation is motion, nothing static. Earth's stability is a unique motion. Idleness is ridiculous.
All moves by augmentation or diminution. Motion implies life, not permanence. World as whole is unchangeable. Parts change.
Generation isn't creating life, just making it visible. Change isn't death, just occultation, hiding, past, present, future linked.
Man uniquely uses all elements, sees heaven via senses. God is about and through all things. Act and power. Easy to grasp God by seeing necessity providence. Matter full of life. God moves with all good fare. Heaven, earth, water, air, parts of world, life, immortality, eternity, spirit, necessity, providence, nature, soul, mind, good, members of God.
God is everywhere. Matter depends on God. Acts are parts of God. God's acts quicken, immortalize, change. Matter, body, essence, acts of God. God is the whole.
No limits on God. Greatness, place, quality, figure, time, he is all. Sole service to God. Don't be evil.
Workman, God creates by word, not hands. Omnipresent, eternal, creates by will. Intangible, invisible body encompasses elements.
God is good, claims that name. Adorns earth with divine body, sends man, immortal, mortal, man superior via speech, mind, spectator, acknowledger of God's works.
God gave speech to all, not mind. Envy and mindless souls. Cup of mind, beholding divine, understanding God.
Must hate the body to love self, attain mind knowledge, can't serve good and evil, choosing worst harms man, not God, creates temporary pomps via pleasure.
God's abundant gifts inspire human generosity. God innocent, humans cause evil by choosing it. Ascend beyond bodies, demons, stars to reach the one God.
Good is unbounded, infinite. Seems to begin with our knowledge of it. Hard to leave familiar for ancient truth. Evil seems delightful, formless, good hidden.
Sense is material, understanding essential. Seem united in humans. Sense plus understanding versus sense plus nature in animals. Mind differs from understanding like God from divinity.
Understanding varies. Material or essential? Source. Devils for wicked, God for good. God workman uses nature for good. Unlawful use of good creations in operation.
World's unique sense understanding. 1. Makes and makes as God's instrument. Receives, keeps seeds from God to create or new. Husbandman of life via seed.
World begets and enlivens via motion. Place and workman of life. Bodies from outer earth, water, air, fire. Understanding enters from outside, inspired by environment. World retains understanding from creation.
Blasphemy to think God lacks sense, mind, understanding, all interdependent on God. Truth depends on understanding. Understanding, believing. Speech guides to truth via mind.
Consonance with truths. Belief first. Credibility depends on understanding. Operation sense. Operations depend on bodies. Corporifying ones, divine mortal, act on body soul.
Operations always active, soul not always in mortal body. Body needs soul. What acts is stronger rules. What's acted on is ruled.
Acts affect living and non-living. Wood, stone. Act, whatever ice is made is done. World always in labor. Every act immortal in any body.
Kinds of acts. Divine, corruptible, universal, peculiar, general of parts. Divine acts on perfect bodies, perfect. Particular acts by creatures, proper acts on anything existing, human soul ops, arts, sciences, studies, actions.
Senses follow aware effects of operations. Sense in body receives manifest act corporeally. Sense is corporeal, mortal, limited to body, born you with it.
Differences. Rational reason, unreasonable, corporeal, inanimate, passive augmentation, diminution. Passion sense linked by acts. Grief, pleasure. pleasure follows senses, passions, and living, needed for perception, rule passions, and reasonable.
Operations work, senses manifest. Being bodily, moved by brute parts of soul, they're malefic. Pleasure sense, many evils.
Truth only in eternal bodies, whose bodies also true. Fire is fire. Human bodies mix all, not truly any. True seeing, perceiving each element as it is.
Truth nowhere on earth, can't be generated. Some men with divine sight might grasp truth. Nothing truly true on earth for mind reason, only fancy's opinions.
Is understanding speaking existing things truth? Truth equals perfect virtue, highest good, unburdened by matter, naked, clear, unchangeable, venerable, unalterable.
Earthly things visible, incapable of good, corruptible, passable, dissolvable, changing. Untrue things can't be true. Everything altered is a lie. Man's truthfulness questioned.
Acknowledge God as one first truth, workman. First truth, one only, immaterial, unbodily, no color figure, immutable, always existing. Falsehood, corrupted, pervades earth. True providence covers it.
Generation needs corruption. Altered things false. Falsehood, work of the truth. Soul body. Soul immortal. Operation constitutes dissolves body.
Death, misconception, empty word, misnomer for immortal, Athanatos. Nothing in world destroyed. World is second, immortal God.
All things members of this immortal being. Transformations, not destructions. Beautified for future forms. Universal body clothed with immortality prevents chaos.
Incorporeal matter disordered. Daily confusion. Augmentation, diminution called death. Disorder of earthly beings. Heavenly bodies, single order from Father, kept indissoluble by instauration, renewal.
Instauration, consistence. Dissolution restores to indissoluble, immortal. Privation of sense, not destruction of bodies.
Man, third living being after world. God's image, superior mind. Sympathy with world, second God. Understands God first. World apprehended as body. God understood as incorporeal mind of good.
Question of man's perishability. World of Kant, man of in world. Beginning, end, consistence, one. God-maker precedes made.
No fear of variety, God's glory to make all. Making factor, body of God, nothing evil, filthy, imputable to maker. These passions follow generation, like rust, excrement, vicissitude of generation, purgation.
Lawful for sane painter, God, to create heaven, gods, earth, sea, etc. All in God, God in all.
Okay, wow, that was a lot to unpack from the divine Pymander. As we kind of wrap up this deep dive, some big themes really stand out, don't they?
Definitely. This idea of an interconnected cosmos, almost like a single living thing, and humanity's place within it, this dual nature.
Right, caught between the physical, the mortal, and this potential for immortality, for the divine, that pull between body and spirit.
And the text really insists that seeking knowledge and being pious, they aren't separate paths. They actually lead together towards understanding the divine source of everything.
So for you, the listener, trying to get a handle on these big ideas quickly, the Pymander offers this incredibly old, unique way of looking at existence and spirituality.
Yeah, it really does. It's packed with these aha moments, even if they take a bit of thinking about to really sink in.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's dense, sometimes pretty obscure, let's be honest.
No doubt. But wrestling with these profound ideas that have shaped so much thought, there's real value in that. Makes you think about our own place.
Definitely. Which leads to maybe a final thought for you to chew on. How do these ancient Hermetic ideas sit with our modern views? Science, philosophy, spirituality today.
Do they clash? Do they resonate? Are there timeless truths hidden in these old esoteric texts that we can still learn from now?
Great questions. And if we piqued your interest, definitely explore the Pymander and Hermeticism further. It's a vast, influential tradition with, as we've seen, a really rich history.